I'm streaming through OBS. Let's check the YouTube. We are live on YouTube. Awesome. Here we go. Let's do this. All right, just going to plug some social media really quick. I'm on Facebook and Twitter, not Instagram, but Facebook and Twitter at Fouch Facts on both of them, also on YouTube. So find me on there to keep up with my social media pages, so you can stay up to date on all future content drops and things like that. So, yeah, it's good stuff. All right, just making a quick Facebook post. We are live from North Webster, Indiana at the famous Fouch family lake house. My favorite place on the planet. One second. I'm going to turn the TV down because I don't know if you can hear it. I was watching Wonder Woman 84 while I ate dinner. One second, we'll be good to go. There we are. Okay, I lied. One more second. Sorry. Just getting some time here. Set some things up. All right. So we're going to get started here. Now that we are good to go, I'm going to get some water here. I got a couple of drinks. A couple bottles of water. A couple Pepsis. Oh, that's refreshing. So, in case you've noticed, this is a new microphone that I just got this weekend, and I got a new webcam that I'm using. It is the microphone is the Yeti Nano made by Blue. Awesome microphone for beginners, for podcasters and streamers. You can use it to game, you can use it to podcast, you can use it to record audio for YouTube channels and videos. It's a really awesome piece of equipment. I am pleasantly surprised with it, and I love it so far. I think it's awesome. I think it's great. The webcam is the Logitech C920S, I believe. Webcam, super awesome webcam. Nice and compact. It's easy to mount on a computer monitor screen. I got it mounted to my laptop right now. But I also bought a tripod for it, so I can mount it that way on the tripod if I so choose. It's just a really awesome, nice piece of equipment. I am super satisfied with it and the microphone. It's some great stuff. So for all you podcasters, YouTubers, content creators, anybody like that, some good stuff. Some really, really good stuff. So, today, I believe this is the second Fouch Facts live stream I've ever done. I have 3 videos up on the channel. The first video that I released is part 1 of a 4-part series where I am rewriting the Star Wars sequel trilogy. Star Wars is my favorite fandom of all time, and it's the one I'm most passionate about. And I'm rewriting the sequels not because I think I'm better than Disney or I'm better than the writers or anything like that. It's just I want to offer a more satisfying ending to the Skywalker story, because I don't think the films that we got from Disney were satisfying. I mean, to say the least. So there were some good parts, but there were some bad parts. I felt like they could have done a better job, but it is what it is. So I'm just giving a fan fiction over it. Part one is just kind of a video that details in depth more why I'm doing it, why Star Wars is so special to me, and then also, you know, kind of what to expect in doing my fan fiction rewrite. And then I also have my version of episode 7 uploaded as well to the channel. It is called Veil of the Dark Side. It was really awesome. It's gotten a lot of support. It's like over 1,000 views. I'm at 25 subscribers right now to the channel, so I'm super pumped about that. So thank you to everybody who's watching this, who has watched my other videos, who supported me so far, family, friends, or just total strangers. I love you all. Thank you so much for everything you've done. It's a pleasant surprise. It's a surprise, but a welcome one to be sure, in the words of the great Palpatine. But yeah, so super pumped. Things are going great. I know the content's been a little dry coming out now, but I've had a lot going on in my life that I've had to take care of, some priorities, and you know, priorities take precedence over hobbies. So, but I think I'm finally getting to a point where I can kind of balance priorities and hobbies. So we're doing good that way. So you should be seeing a lot. I wouldn't say a lot more, but a lot of steadier content releases. I still am working on my Star Wars sequel trilogy rewrite. Episode 8 is in the works. I'm about halfway done with it. It's a lot harder to write than my episode 7 rewrite was, because now I can take the story in so many different directions, and I'll find myself writing in one of those directions. But the further I continue that story path, the more I realize it's not the best direction. So I have to go back and change it and figure out, okay, where did it go wrong? Is it too much fan service? Is it too crazy? Is it too out there? Because, again, I want to make sure that my sequel trilogy connects better to the original 6 films that George made and to the spirit of those original 6 films as well. So I'm treating these with the utmost care and respect, and I am super excited to be doing it. The process is awesome. It's a headache, but it's an awesome process for sure. So I'm super pumped to be bringing that. I don't want to release the title just quite yet for episode 8. I have settled on it, so I think I might do a special video later on in the future, whether it's a live stream or just a video that I edit and put it together. But we're up at the lake and it's like 80. It's been 80, 85 degrees all day. It's really hot, but it's awesome. So I'm like super thirsty. Also, if you hear a small child squeaking in the background, that's my daughter Jessica. Me and her are up here for the weekend. I had a rare Friday off of work, and I want to take advantage of that. So me and her are up here for a couple of days. So we're having fun. We're chilling out, aren't we, Jessica? We having fun? She said, "Yeah." All right. But yeah. So back to the episode 8. I do have the title settled on, but I'll probably release that, you know, in another live stream or just another video. I don't want to do it right now. I like it. I think it's cool. I think you guys are going to like it. But yeah, so it's going great. I don't want to get too much into it because that's not what this show's about tonight. But I just wanted to give a little update in case anybody was curious about the status of my sequel trilogy rewrite, because I know it's been a while since I've dropped some content, since I've dropped some videos. But moving on into the actual meat of the show today, the second Fouch Facts live episode. So happy to bring this to you. Got a big show, awesome show in store for you guys tonight. I think you're going to love it. I know I'm going to love it. I had a lot of fun writing out the notes and the topics that I wanted to talk about. This is something I wanted to bring to you guys for a while now, but like I said, life happened, just got in the way. But we're here now. We're live. We're doing it. We're here. So let's get right to it. First thing I want to talk about, Marvel. Marvel's been up to some pretty awesome stuff. They ended Phase 3 with Infinity War and Endgame, and that was a really emotional ending to the past 10 years of the MCU, because I can remember when I was, I think, like an 8th grader, or I'm about to start my freshman year of high school when the first Iron Man came out, something like that. Maybe 7th grade or 8th grade, but it was around that time, you know, middle school age. And it just ended a couple of years ago, and I'm, almost 10 years out of high school now. So that was a huge part of my life growing up, my teenage years, and a huge influence on me. And so it was emotional and sad to see it end, but also exciting to see the new chapter begin. So I'm super ready for it. I'm super excited. Obviously, with the COVID thing and the pandemic, it kind of restricts what we can do in theaters, which is, what the MCU is built around. But Disney Plus has an amazing platform, and Marvel is taking advantage of it with WandaVision, with Falcon and the Winter Soldier. I loved both of those shows. A lot of people are saying they liked WandaVision better than Falcon and the Winter Soldier, and I'm impartial to Falcon and the Winter Soldier because Cap's my guy, right? Steve Rogers is my favorite character in the MCU. He's one of my favorite superheroes, so I'm going to be impartial to Falcon and the Winter Soldier. But from a critic standpoint, from like a reviewer's standpoint, I would have to agree. I do think that WandaVision had a better story, better writing, but not to say that the Falcon and the Winter Soldier was bad. But I think WandaVision executed better than Falcon and Winter Soldier did. But they were both really good shows. So that kind of kicked off the streaming era of the MCU. Now, Marvel's still going to be pumping out movies. And one movie that I am super excited to see that we just got a trailer for a couple of weeks ago is The Eternals. Now, why am I pumped for The Eternals? I'm just going to be honest. I have no idea who The Eternals are. When they announced they were doing this movie, I'm like, oh, what? What the crap is that? Never heard of them. So I did a little bit of research online, talked to some of my comic book nerdy friends, and they sound pretty cool. They are a group of comic book characters that were created originally by Jack Kirby. Their comic origins are this. They were created by the Celestials. They are a rare race of subhuman experiments, a race of subhumans that were experiments by the Celestials on early mankind. And in doing these experiments that created the Eternals, they also created their antagonist counterparts called the Deviants. So a lot of extraterrestrial godlike beings, and we kind of get this from the trailer. They're human, but they have this like demigod sort of vibe about them. They're in the trailer, you see primitive man on the cliff edge over the ocean, and that their spaceship or whatever it is arrives, and they're like, beautiful, isn't it, and stuff like that. So they're in all of the human race. So I'm really excited how Marvel's going to tackle their origin story, because I don't think, outside of the general public's knowledge of comics and superheroes, I don't think they know a whole lot about the Eternals. I feel like most people had a good idea of who Iron Man, Captain America, Hulk, and Thor were, the Avengers, right? They had good ideas about who those characters were. So that's why I feel like that first, 10 years of the MCU was really successful, is because not only did the hardcore comic book nerds know a lot about those guys, but so did the average, comic superhero fan. The Eternals are going to dive into some pretty deep, heavy stuff. The Celestials were teased and introduced in the Guardians of the Galaxy first movie. There's actually a scene where they're talking about the Power Stone and like the history of the Infinity Stones, where we see one of these Celestials. It's a blink and you'll miss it moment, but it's really cool. But I think one of the things that impresses me more than their mysterious backstory and origins is the cast. Like, this cast is stacked. Let me tell you. Here's just some noteworthy names. Richard Madden, most famous for his portrayal of Robb Stark in HBO's Game of Thrones. Richard Madden is playing, I hope I pronounce this right, and I'm sorry if I don't, Icarus? Icarus? I don't know. Ikaris. That's what it is. I'll just say Icarus. So that's who Richard Madden's playing. Gemma Chan, she is playing a character named Cersei. Sersi. Now, that's hilarious to me because Richard Madden, and he's not the only actor from Game of Thrones in this show. We'll get to the other one later. But one of the most famous characters and one of the most hated characters in Game of Thrones, not only in the television show but the books, is Cersei Lannister. Cersei is spelled different in Game of Thrones, but the fact that there's a character in this movie called Cersei and there's two actors from Game of Thrones, I think is a little It's not really an Easter egg, but it's kind of funny. Kind of nice little connection there, unintentional connection. So yeah, Gemma Chan as Cersei. We've got Kumail Nanjiani is playing Kingo. I have no idea who. I know who Kumail Nanjiani is. Kumail Nanjiani is also going to be in the Disney Plus Obi-Wan Kenobi show, 6-part series coming, I believe, next year. Sometime probably in the late summer, early fall next year is probably when they're going to release Kenobi. But yeah, Kumail Nanjiani, he's going to be in that as Kingo. Next up, we have 2 actresses who are, honestly, they're some of my celebrity crushes. We have Angelina Jolie as Thena. I don't know how you pronounce that, so if I'm butchering it, I apologize. But yeah, Angelina Jolie, childhood crush. She's still a crush today. Salma Hayek. This one I think I'm most surprised about because I've never really known Salma Hayek to do like serious. I'm sure she has done serious movies before, but I've only seen her like in comedies or rom-coms, like Grown Ups and Grown Ups 2, things like that. So I'm really excited to see her portray a character in this environment like the MCU. She's playing a character called Ajak, which I think is another unintentional connection. I think about the first Deadpool movie. Deadpool's antagonist in that movie was Ajax. So again, another little unintentional connection. Ajax. But again, Salma Hayek playing Ajak. Millie Bobby Brown is also going to be in the Eternals. Now, when I was researching the cast list, I did not see her character's name for this, so I'm not entirely sure who she's playing. If anybody knows, feel free to comment and let me know, inform me of that so I can learn something. But she's going to be in it. She's a really talented actress. Obviously, Stranger Things. She's in like the monster universe, like the Godzilla, King Kong stuff. And I watched a little bit of Godzilla versus King Kong. I haven't finished it, but it just didn't interest me. But yeah, I know Millie Bobby Brown is a very talented actress, so pretty excited to see her in this as well. But the actor that I am most excited about watching in this movie, in the Eternals, is Kit Harington. And Kit Harington is going to be a big focus of our discussion tonight. I'm a huge Kit Harington fan, mainly because I am a huge Game of Thrones fan. And in Game of Thrones, Kit Harington plays my favorite character, Jon Snow. And like I said, we're going to talk about Jon Snow a lot tonight, and we'll get into that later. But I love the fact that Kit Harington is in this because he gets to co-star along Richard Madden, who, like I said earlier, was also in Game of Thrones. So Richard Madden played Robb Stark. Kit Harington played Jon Snow, who was Ned Stark's bastard, or at least believed to be Ned Stark's bastard. If you watch the show, you'll know what I mean. If you haven't watched the show, spoilers ahead. Not yet, though. I'll let you know when the spoilers, if you plan on watching Game of Thrones or you haven't finished the series. But Jon Snow and Robb Stark are brothers in the show. And so they had a lot of great chemistry and great scenes together. The very few ones that they did. But I love both of their characters in Game of Thrones. I love both of them as actors, so I'm really excited to see them together again in a project. And the fact that it's an MCU project, I think is something that I am super excited about, and it only adds to my hype for this movie. But Kit Harington, he's going to be playing a character called Dane Whitman, who is also known as the Black Knight. Again, I am not familiar with the Eternals at all. I am not familiar with Dane Whitman, the Black Knight, Ikaris, Cersei, Kingo, Athena, Ajak, any of those people. I honestly have no idea. But upon hearing about Kit Harington's casting, I'm like, okay, I got to find out some stuff about this guy. So I found a comic, it's a 4-part comic series about the Black Knight at a flea market one time when I was in there not too long ago. So I picked it up. I read like the first issue, but then I put it down. I didn't get back to it, but I need to go back to it now that Eternals is ramping up. So I need to go back and read that, find out a little bit about the character and the rest of the Eternals, kind of prepare myself for this movie. But yeah, super excited about Kit Harington. Super excited about Richard Madden, Salma Hayek, Angelina Jolie, all those people. It's a star-studded cast. I don't think people realize that. But should be a really great movie. This is Black Widow's hopefully hopefully is coming out in June, I think, June or July. But it's been pushed back a long time. You just saw my daughter there. I mean, try to hand me some cheese crackers, but I just ate Pizza King, so I'm not really that hungry. But anyway, sorry, sidetrack. Anyway, what was I talking about? Shoot, lost my train of thought. Oh well. See, this it's a love-hate relationship with live streams because if I was just pre-recording a video, I could just edit out that part. But it's whatever. But I think I was talking about like comics and stuff. I have a Black Knight comic book series, like a 4-part series that I found that I need to go back and read and prepare for this. So yeah, I'm really pumped for this. It's a stacked cast. Super excited for this movie. It's gonna be looks to be maybe a little bit dark, a little bit mysterious. Oh, I know what I was gonna talk about. It's the Black Widow movie. It's been delayed, and it's supposed to come out in July, I think June or July. So super pumped for that. That'll be the first movie that has come out since Spider-Man: Far From Home, which was the end to Phase 3 of the MCU. So we'll see how that goes. I think it's going to be pretty awesome. I love Scarlett Johansson, another woman crush. Like she's perfect. But we'll see how the Black Widow movie goes. And then Eternals comes out later this year, I believe. And then also, not only does Eternals come out, but I'm pretty sure Spider-Man comes out too is supposed to come out at the end of this year or like maybe early next year. So we'll see what happens there. We'll see what happens with that as we get ready for this next slate of MCU movies. But speaking of Spider-Man 3 No Way Home, like I said, I believe it's supposed to come out like holiday time this year. I want to say something like that. I'm not sure. I can't remember. I'm not sure. But I know it's soon. It's gonna be releasing within the next year. And this movie, the buzz that's going on and around this movie is pretty epic. Let me tell you. There's going to be some awesome movie. It's supposed to be one of the most daring, one of the most riskiest movies. Riskiest? I don't even know what's the word. One of the biggest risk takers of a film that Marvel has ever produced. And that's saying something when you look at Infinity War, Endgame, Civil War, big movies like that. The first Avengers movie, in fact, any of the Avengers movies are big, risk takers in terms of film. But the buzz around No Way Home is that this is going to be Marvel's like biggest gamble yet on a movie. And I'm not one that's super big into spoiler culture. I don't like going online and reading the plot of a movie and finding out the surprises and twists and turns before I see it in the theaters. However, I will say this. If there's a movie or something, a video game, whatever, a television show that I seem interested in, but I don't know if I want to spend money to watch it because I'm afraid I'll be disappointed, I'll read up about it. I'll read the plot and see if the plot interests me, and then I'll go see it. So, yeah, stuff like that. But I'm not going to, for a movie like I'm anticipating, like The Eternals, I'm not going to go and the day The Eternals is released, like maybe a day or two ahead of the U.S. in some other country, read a Reddit plot leak for it. I'm going to wait to see because I'm excited for this movie. I want to experience the surprise for myself. I don't want it spoiled for me. Because, I'm excited to see Kit Harington and Richard Madden. That's really the biggest reason why I'm excited for The Eternals. But I say this because these aren't spoilers, these are rumors. And really, nothing is considered a spoiler until the film has been released. So, because we don't know if it's true or not. Because I could create a fake Reddit account and claim I'm Joe Schmo from Marvel. And then I was a lighting, editor, director, something person, or, I worked on the movie in some capacity and write a list of bull crap that means nothing and say that it's spoilers. And nobody would ever know until the movie comes out. But the rumors surrounding this movie, and these rumors are based on partial facts, casting releases, things like that. It's going to be pretty heavy stuff, as Marty McFly would say. It's going to be really heavy, Doc. So essentially, what's going around the rumor mill is that Spider-Man No Way Home is supposed to be the MCU's version of Into the Spider-Verse, which was the animated film released by Sony. I believe it came out in theaters and then was moved to Netflix in 2018, I think 2017, 2018. Awesome movie. Great movie. If you don't know anything about Into the Spider-Verse, it's essentially, it takes the story of Miles Morales and it reality jumps to a different iteration of Peter Parker across multiple parallel universes and introduces Spider-Pig, Spider-Woman with Gwen Stacy, Spider-Gwen. And it kind of puts them all in the same story, and they have to figure out how to get back to their respective universes while also learning lessons from themselves. So the fact that Marvel might be daring enough to try a live-action version of this is super awesome. Why do we think that it's going to be a live-action Into the Spider-Verse? Well, there's some casting releases that have come out, and I want to talk about a few of them. Alfred Molina, Dane DeHaan, and Jamie Foxx have all been confirmed by some casting agency somewhere or something to be in this film. Now, if those names sound familiar to you, they should be. Alfred Molina played Otto Octavius, Doc Ock, in Sam Raimi's Spider-Man 2 back from like 2004, I think is when it came out. Dane DeHaan played Harry Osborn / the Green Goblin in The Amazing Spider-Man number 2 back in like 2014 when that came out. Jamie Foxx played Electro in that same movie. These actors are all coming back to reprise their respective villains. So, and not only has this been confirmed through some casting agencies, but actors and actresses like Zendaya talked about working with Alfred Molina on set in an interview. Oh, what's up, Grady? How's it going, buddy? But, so yeah, the fact that we're getting the OG Doc Ock from the 2004 Spider-Man movie is awesome, because Spider-Man 2 from 2004, in my opinion, is one of the best superhero movies ever made. Say what you will about the Tobey Maguire Spider-Man trilogy. For its time, it was awesome, and Spider-Man 2, in my opinion, still holds its own in today's world of superhero films. I think it's right up there. It's in my personal favorite, like top 10. I don't know about top 5, but top 10 for sure. But yeah, so he's coming back. Alfred Molina, fantastic as Doc Ock. I'm excited to see him again in a movie. Dane DeHaan, say what you will about the Amazing Spider-Man series. He played Harry Osborn, the Goblin, but I have mixed feelings about Dane DeHaan's Goblin, Harry Osborn. I have mixed feelings about the Amazing Spider-Man series as a whole. But if anybody can pull off good writing and good directing, it's Marvel, man. It's Marvel. It's the MCU. They can do it. Kevin Feige is a friggin' genius. So, somewhat excited to see Dane DeHaan come back. Somewhat excited to see Jamie Foxx come back. I couldn't care for really too much his iteration of Electro, whether that was just his portrayal of the character, whether it was written that way or directed that way, we'll see. Again, Marvel does wonders, so if they can rewrite things and combine them and refashion them into something interesting, I'm all for it. But not only that, the fact that all these other actors are rumored and somewhat confirmed to be in this film, the other rumors going around are that Tobey Maguire and Andrew Garfield are going to appear in this movie as well as their respective Spider-Men. Tobey Maguire was the original Spider-Man back in the early 2000 Spider-Man movies, the Sam Raimi trilogy. Andrew Garfield was the Amazing Spider-Man Peter Parker version of Peter Parker from the movies back in the early 2010s. And of course, Tom Holland is the current Spider-Man, in my opinion, the best Spider-Man. But the fact that all these people are rumored to be in this film, I'm having a nerd freak out in my brain right now. I can't wait to see this movie. I hope they drop a trailer, or at least a teaser sometime soon, because it's going to be insane. But yeah, but also some interesting rumors and stuff is that, look at my notes here. I feel like I'm in speech class again. But the events of this movie are directly influenced and indirectly caused by WandaVision. If you watch WandaVision, essentially she created this parallel universe almost inside of the real world with Westview, creating, a new vision from just pure emotional, distraught rage and just depression. How she was able to take control of the citizens of Westview and give them, new identities and new personas, and morph them into different realities of different versions of TV sitcoms through the decades. Insane. And we see at the end of WandaVision, Agnes kind of tells her, you don't know what you're doing, kind of thing. Like, you've essentially just opened up Pandora's box. We see Wanda with this, like, I think it's called the Darkhold. Somebody please correct me if I'm wrong, but I'm pretty sure that's what it's called. This magical book of spells. But it's like dark magic, right? So the rumor going around is that Wanda, in creating her Westview, essentially, everybody say hello to my little girl. This is Jessica. You want to say hi to everybody? She's a little camera shy. But, yeah, we're up here enjoying a nice weekend at the lake. But essentially what people are saying is that in WandaVision, at the end of that show, like, in creating her own universe, Wanda opened up the multiverse. She, unknowingly tapped into this infinite well of power and opened up the multiverse, opened up Pandora's box, and indirectly opens up the rest of the world to this. So we'll see how that plays out in Spider-Man. We'll see how that plays out in Doctor Strange too, because the events that happen in Spider-Man No Way Home are supposed to be directly influenced by WandaVision because she opens up the multiverse. And then also going off of this, Doctor Strange 2 is supposed to pick up the story of Spider-Man 3 and carry it forward, because if anybody knows how to manipulate reality, it's Doctor Strange, right? He's the master of the mystic arts. He's supposed to, in his own words, protect our reality. He says that to Tony Stark. So we'll see how that happens, and I couldn't be more excited for that. So Doctor Strange 2 should be awesome. I think it comes out sometime next year. Spider-Man 3 comes out late this year, maybe early next year. That should be awesome to see how all these things come together. The multiverse, Into the Spider-Verse movie. It's going to be great. It's going to be some awesome stuff. So, all right. I need a Pepsi because I'm getting cotton mouth. All right, my daughter wants ice cream, so I'm going to get her some ice cream. Good Lord. I swear, it was easier to open an Xbox One than it is to open a tub of Ben & Jerry's. Pop quiz, Marvel pop quiz. What is the flavor of Ben & Jerry's ice cream named after Tony Stark? Stark Raving Hazelnut. Tony Stark kind of brags about how Ben & Jerry's named a flavor after him. Doctor Strange and Wong say that, Hunka Hulka Burning Fudge is their favorite rather than Stark Raving Hazelnut. Anyway, moving on from Marvel, getting into the meat of today's discussion, we have some Game of Thrones content to talk about. And the reason I'm talking about Game of Thrones is because, like I said, Kit Harington is one of my favorite actors because of his role in Game of Thrones as Jon Snow, because of his portrayal of that awesome character. I couldn't be more excited to see anybody in any role. Well, I'm super excited that Kit Harington's in this role because I loved him in Game of Thrones. I thought his character was fantastic. But I want to talk about, Game of Thrones. I want to talk about Kit Harington and the character of Jon Snow. So if you've seen some of my other videos, one of my other videos I have up on my channel is a segment that I've started called 7 with Devin. And I'll just give 7 random facts about something. It could be 7 best moments of something, the 7 most iconic scenes, 7 best episodes, whatever. 7 random things about a certain topic that I'll be covering. And it's called 7 with Devin. a new series that I start on my channel. The first one that I did was the 7 with Devin May the 4th edition, where I gave you my 7 favorite Star Wars characters. But right now, in this new episode of Fouch Facts Live, we're going to get into 7 with Devin, the 7 best Jon Snow moments. Now, Game of Thrones was a show that was produced by HBO over the course of the past decade. It debuted in 2011 and it just ended in 2019. There are 8 seasons of the show. The first 6 seasons are all 10 1-hour-long episodes, with season 7 being 7 episodes and season 8 being 6 episodes. But lots of awesome characters and storytelling. I think it's literally the most successful television show of all time. And there's fact to back that up. Like, if you look at the Emmy Awards and nominations and all the accolades that it has won, I think it makes it the most successful show. Now, the last 2 seasons were, not as good as the other previous seasons, but that's a different discussion for a different time. We're going to talk about Jon Snow today. And again, this is a new 7 with Devin segment detailing my opinion, Jon Snow's top 7 moments. So we're going to kick off with number 1. In my opinion, the best Jon Snow moment in Game of Thrones comes in Season 6, Episode 10, when Jon is named King in the North. To me, this is the best Jon Snow moment because Jon is one of the very few, and I mean few, I can probably count on easily one hand, maybe less than that, maybe 2, 3, or 4 people who are good to the core, morally and ethically, pure characters on Game of Thrones. It's a really messed up, crazy show of just insanity. But Jon Snow is one of the very, very few good characters in this show. And I'll kind of get into this later because we're going to dive into his character more in depth in the next segment of the live stream. But Jon has had a really, really rough life, mainly in part because he is believed to be a bastard, which, he was born out of he was born outside of marriage. So his father, his supposed believed father, Ned Stark, had him outside of his marriage with his actual wife, Catelyn Stark. So because of Jon being a bastard, he suffered a lot growing up as a kid. When you think of the social and economic status ladder, bastards are at the bottom. They have a hard life. People disrespect them. They treat them poorly. Ned Stark did not treat Jon poorly. He treated him just like he was his own pure heir, pure blood son. But that didn't stop other people from treating Jon like a pile of crap. So he had a really rough life. Not only did he have a really rough childhood growing up, but it still continued to affect him every day of his life until the end of the show, honestly. And I think one of the best things about Jon, and one of the most inspiring things about Jon Snow, is that he never lets his current situation, his past, dictate his future. Despite the fact that he's a bastard, he joined the Night's Watch, climbed the ladder, and became the Lord Commander, which is the leader of the Night's Watch in Game of Thrones, despite being a bastard. He successfully brokered a peace between the wildlings, which are believed to be a bunch of savages, and the North, and really all of Westeros, to be honest. Brokered a peace and alliance between the wildlings and the North. He brought the wildlings south to protect them from the threat of the White Walkers. So he's an amazing leader, he's an amazing diplomat, honestly. Unfortunately, he was killed for being a good person, and being good is what got him killed, because letting the wildlings south of the wall was a really frowned upon, because not to get too political or anything like this, but in terms of, think about racial conflicts in today's society, that's how the wildlings were treated in Game of Thrones. They were treated as inferior savages, when in all reality, they were just people trying to live their lives, running from a greater threat. Jon was the middleman that helped them merge into the world of Westeros. and be accepted into the larger world. Despite being a bastard, despite all the crap that he received in his life. Not only did he do that, he eventually became the king in the north. So to think about where Jon started as this lowly bastard in the northern kingdom of Winterfell, rising to become the leader of the Night's Watch, and from there becoming the king of the north and the leader of the entire northern people. Parzival Skywalker, well, hello there. But, despite being a bastard, Jon Snow, he was the Lord Commander of the Night's Watch. He was the king in the north. And the moment that Jon is crowned the king in the north is so inspiring because it comes fresh off of the victory of the Battle of the Bastards. Jon was trying to lead an army of northern men and wildlings together to reclaim the north from the tyrannical rule of the Boltons and the Lannisters. Mainly the Boltons, but the Boltons were working for the Lannisters. And Jon had an army of barely 2,000 people fighting against a army of 5,000 plus soldiers. And with the help of his sister Sansa and, the Knights of the Vale, they won. But the true power of the North, the Starks, were put back into place by Jon. And him being crowned king of the North is just the ultimate. It's the cherry on top of the ice cream sundae. Jon finally gets something that he more than deserves. Not because, he's a good leader, because he's a good fighter, but because he's a good person. And I think that's the best Jon Snow moment in all of Game of Thrones, is him being crowned king in the North. The second best Jon Snow moment would have to be seeing his birth and seeing his true lineage revealed. This happened at the end of Season 6, and it also happened at the end of Season 7. We saw, and it was a theory that was widely speculated. You have to realize something about Game of Thrones. It is a TV show that was based on a novel series written by George R.R. Martin called A Song of Ice and Fire. And in the book series and in the show, Jon Snow, he really isn't a bastard. He is believed to be a bastard, but he is actually the lawful son of Rhaegar Targaryen and Lyanna Stark. He's not a bastard. He was born out of a lawful marriage of Westeros, and he is actually the heir to be the next king of Westeros because Rhaegar was the prince. Rhaegar's father, Aerys, the Mad King, was killed. That left Rhaegar in line, but Rhaegar was killed in battle during Robert's Rebellion, along with his father. So this would leave Jon in line, whose real name is actually Aegon Targaryen, to become king of the Seven Kingdoms. And for Jon to live his whole life thinking he's a bastard, all the crap treatment that he's gotten because of that, and being at the bottom of the social and economic ladder of things, the king in the North was, I think, the crowning point of his life. Jon says it himself as his greatest honor. But him finding out that he's not a bastard, that he is a legitimate person, he is heir to the Seven Kingdoms. In my opinion, that's the second best moment of Jon's story in Game of Thrones because it finally gives Jon a sense of purpose. It gives him closure because throughout the series and the show, and I know throughout the books because I'm reading the books right now, one thing that Jon really struggles with is, okay, who am I? I don't know who my mother is. I don't know where she is. I don't know if she knows about me. So he has to struggle with that. He has to struggle with, people calling him, making fun of him and giving him grief for being a bastard and all this stuff. And he finally gets this moment of realization and clarity where he finds out that he's not a bastard. He is a legitimate son and heir to the Iron Throne. And it's just such an awesome moment in the Game of Thrones show, and it was just so cool to see Jon finally see this, and it was a moment for him to be able to kind of sit down and realize everything that I've been through hasn't been for nothing. It's brought me here. It's made me who I am, and realizing that I am somebody. Jon doesn't care about titles and anything like that, but it finally gave him closure as to that big question of who was he, Who was his mother? Where did he come from? And all this stuff. And I'll kind of explain why later, why that's so special and important to me. But Jon getting that moment to realize who he was and where he came from awesome. And so that's why it's number 2. Number 3, his lone charge in the Battle of the Bastards. So spoilers for Game of Thrones, Season 6, Episode 9, my favorite episode of GOT of all time. Battle of the Bastards is the battle where Jon Snow and his 2,000-man army of wildlings and Northmen take on Ramsay Bolton and the traitorous Northerners. Ramsay Bolton has kidnapped Jon's younger brother. Well, technically, he's like younger cousin. Anyway, his younger brother, Rickon. And Ramsay sets him free, but then as Rickon's running back to Jon, Ramsay is shooting arrows at him, purposely missing him, just kind of building tension and stress, and he's baiting Jon. Jon tries to go save Rickon. He's riding on a horse trying to save him, trying to meet him and take him back to safety. And there's this really awesome shot where Jon is riding in his horse, Rickon is running right here, and they're about to meet, and then all of a sudden, one of Ramsay's arrows hits Rickon, and it kills him. It strikes him through the heart. It's a very emotionally sad and painful scene to watch because Jon came so close to saving his brother, and he failed. And he's sitting there realizing this. But what Jon realizes in that moment, not only did he fail his brother, but he did exactly what Ramsay wanted him to do. Ramsay wanted to draw Jon out so he could kill him with his army, because once Jon was killed, he knew that his army of wildlings and Northerners would crumble and fall. So Jon realizes this. He's just like, I'm stupid. I just lost my brother. This is exactly what Ramsay wanted me to do. I'm about to die. And so as Jon's realizing this, it's this really awesome kind of like slow-mo shot where he takes out his sword, he unsheathes it from his scabbard, throws his scabbard away, and is just holding his sword, just like, let's go, kind of thing. And it's this really awesome shot from behind Jon, and you see this like insane army of horses and people charging with spears and swords and shields and pikes and all sorts of medieval weaponry coming at Jon, and it's just Jon by himself. It was an awesome moment cinematically to see, but it was also emotionally awesome to see because that just really shows who Jon is. He doesn't care what his current situation dictates. He's not going to let it determine his future, because he's always going to fight for his family and fight for what's right, no matter what the odds. He's kind of like a Steve Rogers in that sense. It's kind of like the scene in Endgame where Steve Rogers is standing with his half-broken shield against Thanos right before, everybody comes back in the portals. And, so that's kind of what it's like. But it was just a really awesome, beautifully cinematic scene, beautifully shot, beautifully directed. The music is swelling and it's so great, so emotional. It's amazing. My favorite scene in all of Game of Thrones. Number 4, Jon kills his first White Walker. So if you don't know anything about Game of Thrones, there are these big bad villains, the main villains of the show, called White Walkers. They're essentially ice zombies. Insane people. It's my little baby right here. Love my little girl. But, so yeah, White Walkers, ice zombies. And they're extremely overpowered and insane. They can't be killed by regular weapons. They can only be killed by this special, like, obsidian type substance called dragon glass, or this extremely rare forged metal called Valyrian steel. I've never actually watched any Game of Thrones, but you explaining it makes me want to watch it. Oh, Parsival, you have to watch it. Like, think like Lord of the Rings, but on steroids. Like, I think Game of Thrones is better than Lord of the Rings. I love Lord of the Rings, but in my opinion, it's too much walking and talking. Action scenes are great. Helm's Deep is great. Battle of Pelennor Fields is great. But Game of Thrones is able to take the walking and talking and make it interesting, where Lord of the Rings kind of failed to do that for me. But going back to it. So yeah, White Walkers, ice zombies, pretty much OP invincible, kind of like, Rey Skywalker. I didn't say that. I'm sorry. No, just joke. Anyway, so they are able, not only are they kind of invincible ice zombies, but also they're able to raise people from the dead and turn them into ice zombies. Not ice zombies, just regular zombies. The White Walkers are literal zombies made of ice. And they are able to create zombies by raising people from the dead. So not only are they insanely powerful and almost indestructible, but they can raise these people from the dead and turn them into an army of zombies. And it's insane. So what happens is while Jon is trying to rescue the wildlings from the White Walkers, from the Army of the Dead and the White Walkers attack. In season 5, episode 8, Hardhome, it's this huge massacre, this huge insane battle. I mean, just think like World War Z. I haven't seen the movie, but I remember seeing the trailers, like those super fast running, sprinting, zombies. Think that, but medieval times, and they're controlled by stronger versions of icier versions of themselves. It's insane. Anyway, they just totally massacre the wildlings and the Night's Watch and Jon's, soldiers that he takes with him to rescue the wildlings. But in the battle, Jon fights a White Walker, and Jon kills him successfully. This is where we kind of find out that Valyrian steel can also kill White Walkers, and it's not just dragon glass. So, and it's this really awesome scene. Jon's fighting with him and everything. They're locking swords and stuff. And Jon has this moment where he like blocks the blow and then comes around and swings with his sword and slices the thing in half. And when you kill a White Walker, it explodes into like miniature shards of looks like glass, but it's ice. It's really awesome. Really cool scene. Kind of uses that, like slow-mo effect. The audio of the scene is kind of like, I would equate it to the sound effect of, if you're like playing Call of Duty and you get flashbang, how it's like that ringing kind of fuzzy audio going on. It's like that. It's just awesome. It's just an awesome scene. It's really cool, but, very few people in Game of Thrones have ever killed a White Walker. Jon Snow is one of those few people. And the first time that he does it, it's insane. It's awesome. Number 5. Refuses Cersei's truce / his epic speech afterwards. So essentially, in season 7, Jon has to not only has he just united the North in the fight against the White Walkers and the Ice Zombies, but Jon has to unite the rest of the 7 kingdoms, because Jon understands that they don't stand a chance unless they fight together. So Jon's whole, goal in season 7 is we got to, everybody has to come together to fight this, or else we don't stand a chance. Do you think that the Amazon Lord of the Rings show will be able to rival Game of Thrones? With how much money it's been like rumored to be put into it, definitely it should. And if it doesn't, it'll be a huge disappointment, Parsival. So yeah, they definitely should be able to. Depends on the cast, depends on the writers, tons of different factors that could go into it, but it could, very well could. But anyway, number 5, Jon refusing Cersei's truce. So Cersei Lannister is probably one of the most, if not the most hated character in Game of Thrones, because she is just despicable, evil, villainous woman of a character. Not to say that women are bad or anything like that, but Cersei's character is just awful. She's just, I hate her and a lot of other people. I don't hate the actress. Lena Headey, that portrays the character, did a phenomenal job. And that's probably why we hate this character so much, is because of Lena's perfect acting. Anyway, she is just like completely untrustable, two-faced piece of crap. And she says, okay, we'll unite with the North and the rest of the 7 kingdoms, but Jon, you have to stay out of it, because what you have to understand is, while all this is going on, Daenerys Targaryen, who's another one of the main characters, is also come, and she's trying to not take over Westeros, but take back Westeros, because the Targaryen family were in the seat of power, but were overthrown, and Daenerys was kind of outcast and had to be exiled, and now she's coming back to reclaim her throne, so to speak, all that stuff, all that good stuff. Long story short. So you have this conflict of Cersei Lannister and Daenerys Targaryen. Cersei is the current queen. Daenerys wants to be queen. So they're butting heads, right? So Cersei says, you know what? I'll agree to stop the war and stop fighting with Daenerys and her armies and fight with you to defeat the army of the dead. But Jon, you have to stay out of everything that comes after that. And at this point, Jon has already pledged his fealty and his loyalty to Daenerys. And so Jon says, I can't do that, because honor binds him to Daenerys. He says, I've already pledged my loyalty, pledged my sword, my fealty, my kingdoms to Daenerys, and I can't serve two queens. And what this leads to is the whole truce breaking up. Nothing seems like it's going to be worked out, and there's like a separation. The groups go, separate for a little bit to talk things over and think things through. Everybody's talking to Jon like, dude, are you stupid? You couldn't lie for just once in your life. And Jon's like, no, I can't. I'm a man of my word, and I won't make promises that I can't keep. And that really harkens to his father, Ned Stark, his supposed father. And it just really says something about the character of Jon. And he gives this amazing speech afterwards while everybody's kind of dogging him for doing this. And it's one of my favorite quotes in the whole series. It's definitely one of my favorite Jon Snow quotes of all time. And it goes something like this. Jon says, when enough people make false promises, words stop meaning anything. I think that's such a powerful line, and I love it so much because it's so true, especially in today's society and today's world. But, it really, hammers home the point that Jon is an honorable man. He's going to do what's right no matter what. And he doesn't care the outcome that happens to himself. He has to stay true to his heart. He has to stay true to his convictions. He's not going to be influenced by the agendas of other people. And I think that really just says something to him. It says something about his character and the type of person that he is. So that speech, that scene where he does that, that's one of my top Jon Snow moments. It's number 5. Pepsi break. It's good stuff. Pepsi is superior to Coke, by the way. BT dubs. All right, so number 6. Jon's defense of Castle Black. So before Jon becomes king of the North, he is part of the Night's Watch, which are essentially supposed to act as a border patrol in Game of Thrones. So in Game of Thrones, you have the main world. It's called Westeros, and it's made up of 7 kingdoms. In the North Kingdom, which is the uppermost kingdom, there's a wall that acts as a boundary, and beyond that it's just wild lands, right? It's the true North. And that's where the wildlings live, the savages. And so the wall was built to protect the people. This is what the common belief is the wall was built to protect people from the wildlings and all the dangers beyond the wall in the true North, in the far North, the lands of always winter. And the Night's Watch are supposed to be like the Border Patrol. They man the wall. There's 13 castles or something on the wall, something like that, maybe.
I like your video.
Thank you, honey. My daughter says she likes my video. It means the world to me. She's my biggest inspiration. Excuse me. Well, anyway, here we go. But the Night's Watch is supposed to be like the Border Patrol. So not only are the wildlings up there, but the White Walkers, the ice zombies, they live north of the wall. So the Night's Watch are supposed to be the border police. If anything tries to get past the wall, they're supposed to be the first line of defense and also the last line of defense at the wall. So in season 4 and from season 2, season 3, season 4, conflict kind of builds up between the wildlings and the Night's Watch. And it all comes to a boiling point in season 4, episode 9, where the wildlings and their huge army launch an attack on the Night's Watch at Castle Black, their main stronghold. And the wildlings kick butt. They honestly do. For the most part, for the majority part of the time, they kick butt. Because there's thousands and thousands of wildlings and only like a few hundred Night's Watchmen. So they're incredibly outnumbered and outmanned. But Jon Snow leads the successful defense of the Night's Watch and of Castle Black and is able to hold off the wildlings and push them back and push them into a retreat. And the whole montage and scenes of Jon leading this defense and taking charge of it is just super awesome. Super awesome action. There's some great fight sequences in there. The cinematography is great. The music is great. It's just such a beautiful scene put together. A little collaboration of awesome shots, acting, soundtrack, music, score is great. It's just amazing. Going to the last thing on the 7 with Devin list for Jon Snow's best moments. Number 7, Jon Snow unites the North and the Wildlings. So again, yes, Latin warrior, rip Egret, forever in our hearts, Egret. So yeah, number 7 on my list of 7 with Devin's Jon Snow best moments is when Jon Snow unites the North and the Wildlings. So what ends up happening in the show is, like I said, the Wildlings are north of the Wall. They're viewed as like savages, like I said, not to get too much into politics and stuff like that, but they are viewed as inferiors, right? And so there's a lot of conflict with them. A lot of people hate them based on just, prejudiced reasons and no real facts, not really getting to know the Wildlings and who they are. They just automatically hate them because they're supposed to. But Jon Snow is able to successfully broker a peace between the North and the Wildlings, and would later in turn lead to the Wildlings being accepted into Westeros. Even though the Wildlings end up going back north of the Wall at the end of the show, spoilers, when the White Walkers are defeated, he's able to broker that peace. And for him to do that is just insane. It's just awesome because the Wildlings and Westeros have been feuding for thousands and thousands of years, essentially since the dawn of time. But Jon Snow was the one who said, you know what, we got to put all that beside us because it's not about ancient, age-old feuds and stuff like that. This is about the living and the dead and surviving. And so Jon is able to convince everybody to look past their not only their physical differences, but maybe their, psychological differences, and realize at the end of the day, we're all people. We're all the same, and we all want to do the same thing. We want to live our lives. And we can't do that if we're fighting amongst ourselves. So Jon Snow uniting the Wildlings and the Northerners, it's just really great to see. It's a great metaphor, like I said, for the real world today, for us to realize it doesn't matter who we are. It doesn't matter the color of our skin. It doesn't matter our, beliefs and stuff like that. At the end of the day, we're all people. And we need to be able to respect each other. We can have differences and stuff like that. Sure, absolutely. But the beautiful thing of life is that we can learn to live with each other despite our differences while still respecting one another. Lopez says, there's only one war that matters. The Great War, and it is here. Yes, it is. Winter is coming. Anyway, so yeah, those are my 7 top favorite Jon Snow moments. Again, I'll just run through them really quick. Number 1, Jon being crowned king in the North. Calm down, honey. We don't want to break nothing. Slow down. Number 1, king in the North. Number 2, his birth / true lineage revealed. Number 3, the lone charge at the beginning of the Battle of the Bastards. Number 4, killing his first White Walker. Number 5, refusing Cersei's truce / his epic speech afterwards. Number 6, the defense of Castle Black. Number 7, uniting the North and the Wildlings. All right, so if you don't know what Game of Thrones is and you don't know who the character of Jon Snow is, you're probably wondering, what the crap is this guy talking about, and what's the purpose of it all? And I'm going to cover a lot more Game of Thrones stuff in the future, but let's dive into this Jon Snow character. So I'm going to introduce to a new segment, a new series of videos that I'm going to be putting on the channel and live streams and pre-recorded videos. I'm going to call it Dev's Deep Dive. And today's Dev Deep Dive is Jon Snow. And again, we're talking about Jon Snow because he's played by the actor Kit Harington, who's appearing in the new Marvel's movie, The Eternals, as Dane Whitman, the Black Knight, later on this year, I believe. But anyway, we're going to take a deep dive into the character of Jon Snow. We're going to look at his backstory, kind of his character arc through the show Game of Thrones. And I'm talking more about the show. I'm not necessarily the books because I'm still in the process of rereading the books. I'm in the middle of the first one right now, listening to the audiobook on Amazon Audible. It's really awesome. But here we go. So who is Jon Snow? Jon Snow, in order to understand who his character is, we have to dive into the backstory and history of Westeros. And to do that, we're going to start at a period of time called Robert's Rebellion. Robert's Rebellion was this war that was fought between the people of power at the time, the Targaryens, who sat on the throne of Westeros, the Iron Throne. And essentially, the North and like the Riverlands and stuff like that. So you have like the southern half of the kingdom fighting the northern half of the kingdom. Why? Because it was believed that the crown prince Rhaegar Targaryen, son of the King Aerys, the Mad King Aerys Targaryen, kidnapped the Lyanna Stark, the daughter of Lord Rickard Stark, the leader of the North, the ruler, the Lord of Winterfell, Warden of the North. It was believed that Rhaegar, King Aerys' son, kidnapped Lyanna, Lord Rickard's daughter, and kidnapped her and raped her and did all sorts of terrible things to her. That's what was believed. And so the problem with this is that Lyanna was betrothed to Robert Baratheon at the time, who's a character from Storm's End, from the Eastern Kingdoms. And the reason why this problem is because Lyanna was betrothed to Robert. And so when Lyanna goes missing, and the rumor going around is that she was abducted by Rhaegar, Robert was a guy who, thought with his sword instead of his mind. So he starts a war to win her back, essentially. And in doing this, Robert's best friend was Ned Stark, the son of Rickard Stark. Part of the other reason why the war started was not only to, get Lyanna back, but also because once Lyanna was found missing, Rickard Stark and his oldest son, Brandon Stark, went down. I think it was Brandon. Yeah, Brandon. Yeah, Rickard and Brandon Stark went down and, demanded the Mad King say, hey, Rhaegar needs to face justice, and we need to get our daughter and sister Lyanna back, right? Well, King Aerys didn't like this too much, and he burned Rickard Stark alive, and Brandon Stark, trying to save Rickard Stark, choked to death. Really dark, morbid stuff, but it happened. And so this, with the fact that Lyanna was believed to be kidnapped, yes, Brandon was older than Ned. That's what I can't remember what his name was, Brandon or Brendan, but it's Brandon Stark. Anyway, so yeah. So along with, the murder of Rickard and Brandon Stark, the two oldest members of the Stark family, and the kidnapping of Lyanna, started the war, most famously known as Robert's Rebellion. Ned Stark, who was next in line to become Lord of Winterfell, naturally took up arms alongside his best friend Robert Baratheon to fight the tyrannical rule of the Mad King Aerys and get his sister back. So Ned goes off to fight in this war for like 9 months. And at the end of the war, now what you have to understand is right before Ned went off to war, he got married to Catelyn Stark, who was betrothed to Brandon. But like the custom and culture of Westeros at the time was that if a lady was betrothed to a family member, betrothed to somebody, and that person died, the next in line of the family members would take that wife, essentially. So Ned Stark was the next oldest of the Stark children after Brandon. So when Brandon died, Ned said, you know what? I'll take Catelyn as my wife. And so Ned marries Catelyn, and right before he goes off to war, they have their first child, Robb Stark, played by Richard Madden, who's will be in the Eternals. So they have a good, loving marriage. They have a kid together, and Ned goes off to fight in this war. Well, after fighting in this war for, like I said, almost a year, Ned comes back with a baby.
Baby?
And just was like, baby, what? Yeah, he comes back with this random baby, and this is a problem because Ned claims this baby to be his bastard son, Jon Snow. My daughter's like fainting because of the surprise and shock of everything. But so yeah, Ned goes and fights in this almost year-long war and comes back with this baby who claims it's his bastard. So it's not uncommon for people of Westeros in the Game of Thrones culture to father bastards. It happens. They go to fight off war. They go to serve in military or something, some form of service. And they're away from their wives for a long time, and they visit brothels, or they sleep with tavern wenches, and they come back with children, or they have children outside of their marriage. It's not uncommon. What the controversy was that Ned Stark and the Stark family was very honorable, again, very good to the core. Like Jon Snow is a very good to the core person. Ned Stark was the basis for Jon Snow's like good ethics and morals. So the fact that this very honorable, upstanding man comes back with a bastard, it was like, okay, this guy just cheated on his wife. I thought he was supposed to be this upstanding citizen, and he just, cheated on his wife. That's not good. And because of this, Catelyn Stark, his wife, hated the baby. She hated baby Jon. And because Catelyn believed that Jon was Ned's bastard, as Ned was telling everybody, and she saw the baby as a physical manifestation of her husband's unfaithfulness. Now, she forgave Ned and moved past it, but the fact that Jon was a physical living being and a constant reminder that he was unfaithful, Catelyn hated that. And she went even so far as to pray to the gods of Westeros that they would kill Jon while he was a baby. And you know what the messed up thing is? He almost died. Jon almost died as a baby. And he came down with the pox really bad. This is all explained in the show. But this is part of Jon's backstory, just to give you some context of all the crap that he had to go through because he is a bastard. So yeah, Catelyn Stark prays to the gods that they would kill this child, this innocent little baby. Jon comes down with this terrible, terrible form of the pox and disease and sickness, and he's literally on the verge of death. Catelyn feels so guilty about this because she feels like she essentially just killed a child. She says, she prays to the gods, save him. If you save him, I'll love and care for him. I'll be the mother that he'll never have. I'll treat him like he's one of my own.
I like you.
I like you too. And so she says, you know what? Save him, and I'll treat him like my own. So Jon Snow ends up living, right? The gods save him. But Catelyn can't live up to her end of the bargain, her promise, and still hates Jon and treats him like a piece of crap. So, and like I said, remember, bastards were like the bottom of the totem pole in the Westerosi, culture. People hated them. They were treated like poop. Really, they were treated like dog poop on the bottom of your shoe that you stepped in. And he had to endure so much grief and crap, not only from, just the people in general, but from Catelyn Stark, somebody that's supposed to be his own family. He had to deal with a lot. So that's his backstory. That's who he was believed to be. So when we see him at the start of the show, because the events of Robert's Rebellion take place 17 years before the start of the show. Don't forget doors. Yeah, cripples, bastards, and broken things. Doors. Yeah, Tyrion. Anyway, so at the start of the events of the show that we see, it takes place 17 years after Robert's Rebellion. And season 1, Jon understands that, he's a bastard. He doesn't have any place in this world, in the world of Westeros, in the world of society, in its culture. So he is searching for purpose. He's searching for meaning. He's searching for destiny. And he feels like he can find this in the Night's Watch. His uncle, Benjen Stark, the youngest of the original Stark children. There was Brandon, Ned, and Benjen. Brandon, Ned, Lyanna, and Benjen. Brandon and Lyanna died. That just left Ned and Benjen. So Benjen joined the Night's Watch. He was first ranger under the command of Jeor Mormont. And so Jon's like, you know what? I'll just go join the Night's Watch with my uncle, and it'll be awesome. We'll be, these like, super awesome warriors, protectors of the realm, this, that, and the other. It's kind of like when a teenage boy, a young preteen boy is like, I want to join the army because it's cool. It's like Call of Duty, so forth and so on. Yeah, Captain America, things like that. Rambo, woohoo! They don't realize the horrors of war and serving in the military, the reality of it all. That's kind of what Jon was like with the Night's Watch. He wanted to join the Night's Watch because he thought it was cool. He thought it would be funny. He thought he would find a sense of purpose in it. But he didn't. The Night's Watch was not what he thought it was made out to be. Think about this. Think about Star Wars, how Rey thinks Luke Skywalker is this awesome mythical hero, and when she meets him, he's a grumpy old man. That's essentially the same dynamic that Jon Snow has with the Night's Watch. When he gets there and he gets inducted into its membership and its ranks, it's nothing like he thought it would be. And people tried to warn him about it, but he's like, no, what? I don't have a place in this world. I'm going to go find a place with the other rejects of the world. And so Jon's like big conflict in season 1 is family versus duty, because you see him trying to let go of, his bastard nature and find a place of belonging in the Night's Watch in this band of brothers, but he can't find it. So going on to season 2, Jon finally is a seasoned Night Watch veteran. I don't know the exact time difference between the first 2 seasons, but it can't be that long, maybe a few months or weeks. But he's been made an official brother of the Night's Watch, and the threat of the wildlings is still a big thing. So the Night's Watch has been sending out these like rangers, these like scouts essentially, north of the wall, because there's been a lot of shady stuff going on and investigating it, and none of their scouts are returning. And they think it's because of the wildlings. So Jon Snow and a few others, Cor and Halfhand is one of them, goes out to figure out what's going on. And there's this plan essentially that Jon is to infiltrate the wildlings as this undercover agent. So Jon ended up killing Cor and Halfhand, and who is this legendary member of the Night's Watch, one of the most expert duelists of the Night's Watch, one of the best soldiers the Night's Watch has ever produced. And Jon kills him to gain favor with the wildlings and to join their ranks. And so that's like the whole dynamic of season 2. Jon is trying to infiltrate the wildlings and become an undercover agent, right? In doing this, Jon meets a very special red-headed woman, wildling, named Ygritte. And Ygritte plays a very important part in Game of Thrones, specifically in Jon's life. So, season 2 again, Jon's becoming an undercover agent, trying to infiltrate the wildlings to figure out what's going on, what the big problem is north of the wall. So moving on into season 3, Jon tries to become a wildling. He meets Mance Rayder. Mance Rayder is the leader of the wildling armies. He's the person that everybody has turned to. He's united all these tribes of wildling members into this formidable army of probably over 10,000 soldiers. But Jon's trying to get in the ranks. He's trying to become a wildling. He killed Cor and Halfhand. He's trying to prove himself, right? But all while doing this, Jon is falling in love with Ygritte, the wildling woman that he met in season 2. And they eventually form a relationship. They have a very famous scene in a cave. I won't say anything more about it, because if you know, you know. If you don't, you'll just have to watch. But so you kind of got like this Romeo Juliet type thing going on, because Jon is still being treated with a lot of caution and treated at from a distance, so to speak, because people are skeptical of him being a former member of the Night's Watch and just all of a sudden wants to become a wildling. But essentially he does. He becomes a wildling and is able to figure out kind of what's going on, and realizes that who the White Walkers are and the threat that they pose. Really, the seeds of the real threat of the White Walkers are sown in season 3. And a subplot, a sub-story of all this is Jon finds a love interest in Ygritte. And the thing about being a member of the Night's Watch, you're not supposed to have relationships. You're supposed to father no children, have no lands or titles, all that kind of stuff. They're essentially celibate monks, but they're warriors, so to speak. So that's some conflict that comes up later in future seasons as Jon develops this relationship and this love interest with Ygritte while he's still a member of the Night's Watch, so forth and so on. So anyway, season 3, he's still the undercover agent, really exposed to the threat of the White Walkers and everything for the first time, and starts to understand the reality of the situation. So he's got all that going on. Season 4 comes around, and actually at the end of season 3, he gets found out. They find out, the wildlings find out that he's actually a spy, and he's trying to figure out what's going on. And this really causes a huge divide between him and Ygritte, because Ygritte trusted him and he trusted her. And they loved each other very, very deeply. And so for her to find out that her lover is a traitor is very hard for her to accept and understand. So moving on into season 4, a big theme that Jon has to play with is love versus duty. And that's something that his father, Ned Stark, had to deal with. Hold on just 1 second, guys. Sorry, had to help my daughter fix something real quick. But we're back now. We're good. So where are we? Season 3, season 4. So yeah, okay. So season 3, the end of it, Jon is found out. He leaves the Wildlings and goes back to the Night's Watch. The divide is made between him and his lady love Ygritte. So season 4, it's the whole love versus duty, right? Jon Snow chose duty over love. You know, he chose to follow his Night Watch brothers, his Night Watch vows, and chose them over his lady Ygritte. And eventually, throughout season 4, what happens is Jon learns that there's this attack that's being planned by the Wildlings on the Night's Watch so they can get south of the wall to run from the White Walkers. And so Jon leads the defense of Castle Black. He's still, in his mind, thinks that, you know, the Night's Watch and duty is more important than love. It's more important than doing the right thing. And so he fights with the Night's Watch against the Wildlings, but ends up losing Ygritte. Ygritte ends up dying, spoilers, in season 4, at the end of season 4. And it's in this moment that things click, and Jon's like, you know what? Duty isn't more important than love. You know, everything that he saw when he was a wildling, the threat of the White Walkers, it's all starting to become real to him. And he like has this moment of clarity as he's holding Ygritte's body, where he's just like, you know what? There's got to be more to life than just mindless duty, right? Which is essentially what he starts to think of the Night's Watch. So he realizes the error that he made in choosing duty over love. And we'll see how this comes into play later on. So, yeah, season 4, he has to deal with losing Ygritte. And so in season 5, he has to deal with the ramifications of that. In season 5, we really start to see the foundations in his mind of, okay, you know what? The duty is flawed, right? The Night's Watch is flawed. The agendas of society are flawed. Jon always chose duty. The one time he chose love, season 8, episode 6, we see the end result of that, to me at least. We'll get to that, Lopez. You're getting ahead of the game here. So Jon really starts to see, you know what? And when I say duty, I mean like the duty of society. You know, what society tells you you have to do versus knowing what you have to do in your heart, I guess is what I'm trying to say. And so that's what Jon thinks. You know, the first 4 seasons of the show, Jon's thinking, okay, I have to, sorry, it's okay, Lopez, we're all good. You know, the first 4 seasons, Jon is thinking, I have to do what society tells me is right to do, but ends up learning I have to end up making that decision on my own and doing what I think is right, not what society tells me is right. So season 5 is really Jon doing that. There's this character, Maester Aemon, who is the Maester, which is kind of like the doctor slash advice giver slash therapist, I guess you could say, in the Game of Thrones world. And he has this conversation with Jon earlier in the show. I can't remember which season it is, but he tells Jon, one second. Sorry about that. I noticed my daughter was eating cereal, and instead of putting milk in it, she is using water. So I'm going to let her figure that out. But the kid's got to learn somehow, right? She's eating it, though, so she must like it. So anyway, okay, so season 5. He has this, not season 5, but earlier in the season, Jon is talking with Maester Aemon. And Maester Aemon's like telling him, Jon, you got to kill the boy and let the man be born. And really what Maester Aemon's trying to tell him is that you can't do what society tells you to do. You have to figure out what you want to do and what you feel is right, you know? And so season 5 is Jon coming to grips with this and learning what that truly means. And so he starts to put 2 and 2 together and realizes the true threat of the White Walkers, and that's why the wildlings were running. Wildlings aren't savages, and they're not rapers and murderers and thieves and all this stuff. They're just trying to live, but they're running from an even bigger threat. So Jon realizes this, and he says, you know what, we got to help these people out. But remember, the wildlings are like, no, we're not supposed to touch them, right? They're evil. They're monsters. They can't live with us. They can't coexist with us. But Jon is saying, you know what, it doesn't matter what you think of them or what they think of you, because there's an even bigger threat than what you could possibly imagine that's coming for us all. And so Jon is trying to bind the people of Westeros together to face this threat, because he's finally realizing he has to kill the boy to let the man be born in season 5. And in doing this, Jon gets himself killed because the people around him can't see past their own dogma, their own, confused line of thought and train of thinking. So they kill Jon. They betray him. Jon's made Lord Commander of the Night's Watch. He's in charge of the Night's Watch, and he lets the wildlings pass through the wall into Westeros. And certain members of the Night's Watch kill Jon for this. And season 5's big cliffhanger is Jon Snow's death. Spoilers, but Game of Thrones has been out for like a decade, so you should have, well, at least season 5's been out for a good, 4+ years, so you should have seen it already. But so yeah, Jons can't see past their own prejudice. Yes, exactly, Lopez. They can't see past their own prejudices, so they kill Jon. They don't see the bigger threat of the White Walkers or the true threat of winter. And they're flawed in that thinking. Jon's like, it doesn't matter. And it ends up getting himself killed. So season 6 picks off for the watch. Yes. So season 6 picks up right after season 5. Jon is eventually brought back to life by this red priestess lady. It's pretty kind of magical stuff, kind of weird. But Jon comes back to life because at the end of the day, he's the only one that can save the day, right? And so season 6 is really Jon cementing that mindset of killing the boy and letting the man be born. Like, Jon has this rare second chance, literally second chance of life. And so he uses this to do in what he feels is right in his own heart, not what other people try to tell him is the right thing to do. But at the same time, Jon knows before he can truly do this, he has to take back the North, because during all this, during Jon's own journey, the War of Westeros is in chaos. It's in shambles. There's been a whole war of the Five Kings going on, so forth and so on. It's just crazy chaos. And Jon's ancestral home of Winterfell, the stronghold of the Starks, has been taken over by these traitors called the Boltons, who have been backed by the stupid Lannisters. And so Jon's like, okay, yeah, we had to band together and fight the not wildlings, but the White Walkers. But before we can do that, I kind of have to take back the North and unite the North. And so Jon does just that. So season 6 is Jon rallying the Northmen and the wildlings, creating alliances to win back Winterfell and the North from the tyrannical rule of the Boltons. And that's exactly what happens. And season 6 was really awesome. It was great to see Jon's, finally step into a leadership role. And like I said in the previous segment, talking about the top 7 Jon Snow moments, at the end of season 6, Jon's named the King of the North, which is a huge honor for Jon. Not just for Jon, but for anybody. The people of the North are a very prideful people. So for them to put their trust in Jon and say, that's the guy that we want to lead us, is a pretty huge feat, a pretty huge accomplishment. So season 6 ends on a really high note for Jon. So now in season 7, Jon can finally focus, okay, I've got the North together. We're all on the same page. Now we can start to tackle the army of the dead. Or so Jon thinks, because Jon gets word that Daenerys Targaryen and her army of Dothraki and Unsullied have crossed the Narrow Sea into Westeros to reclaim the Iron Throne. So Jon's like, gosh dang it, I have to go align myself with Daenerys, because Daenerys has 3 dragons. Like, probably the only thing that's more OP than a White Walker or the Ice Zombies are dragons. And I'm not talking like Komodo dragons. I'm talking like bigger than 747 Boeing jet dragons. Breathing fire and destruction and all this stuff and everything. It's just insane. And aside from the 3 dragons, Daenerys has an army of 8,000 Unsullied soldiers who are essentially like the Spartans of old, like the Spartans of like Greece and all that. These are Game of Thrones' version of Spartans, are the Unsullied. And then Dothraki are essentially Game of Thrones version of, like, Native Americans, the Indians. Super awesome warriors, right? So she's got 10,000 Dothraki, 8,000 Unsullied, and 3 dragons. She's unbeatable. Jon realizes that he's going to have her help to defeat the White Walkers. And so Jon allies with Daenerys, but in turn, starts another war with the Lannisters in the south. Eventually, we have another war between the northern half of the kingdom and the southern half of the kingdom. The northern half being led by Jon and Daenerys, the southern half being led by Cersei and the Lannisters. So, season 7 ends with a supposed truce. They all meet together and they say, okay, you know what? We got to face the army of the dead. It's real. They're able to capture one of the zombies and bring him back to show everybody that it's real. So Cersei agrees to have a truce and that they'll fight the White Walkers together. And then once that threat is dealt with, then they can resume the war. And whoever wins that will win the throne. And the story will be over. But season 8 rolls around, the last season, and Cersei reneges on her promise. So Jon is left to defend the north with just Dany's army and his army of Northmen, which is a formidable force. But we're talking about ice zombies. They're unbeatable. And at the end of season 7, Dany loses one of her dragons. So Jon's under the stress to defeat the White Walkers and everything. And at the same time, he forms another romantic relationship with Daenerys. But here's the thing. Remember how we thought Jon was supposed to be the bastard son of Ned Stark? Jon is not the bastard son of Ned Stark. We learn that Jon is actually the legitimate son of Rhaegar and Targaryen and Lyanna Stark. Rhaegar did not kidnap Lyanna. He did not kidnap her. The two fell in love and they ran away together. Rhaegar was already in a marriage, but he had that marriage annulled. Lyanna was betrothed to Robert Baratheon, but she didn't love him. She loved Rhaegar. So they ran off together, got married. They had a child. That was Jon Snow. But because of the war, Rhaegar was killed and Lyanna died in childbirth. And Robert won the war and won the throne. And Robert hated the Targaryens because he thought Rhaegar murdered Lyanna. He thought he raped and murdered her. So Robert hates anything to do with any Targaryens anywhere. So Ned understands. Yeah, Jon B has a romantic relationship with his aunt. You're exactly right, Lopez. Dany is Jon's aunt because Dany is the younger sister of Rhaegar. But they don't know this, so it's okay. Hey, I ship Jon and Daenerys. I don't care. Anyway, so yeah, Jon is not a bastard. He's the rightful heir to the Iron Throne in all reality. And so what ends up happening is we find out that Jon's the rightful heir. He's the lawful son of Rhaegar and Lyanna. So this creates a dynamic because all this information comes out. Dany learns of it because, remember, Dany's trying to win the throne, but now Jon has been revealed to be the rightful heir to the throne. So now the two lovers have that conflict, but Jon doesn't want it because he's not about titles and anything like that. He just wants what's best for the people, which honestly makes him the best choice to rule Westeros, is because he doesn't care about agendas. He cares about people. But anyway, it just goes to show how awesome Jon's character is. So they defeat the White Walkers. They defeat the army of the dead. And now they march on Cersei. And they're out for revenge because Cersei did not help them in the fight. And it's a bloodbath. But Jon sees something. He sees that Daenerys is out of control because Daenerys has lost so much. By the end of Game of Thrones, at the last 2 episodes, Dany has lost 2 of her 3 dragons. She's lost pretty much all of her best friends. The only person that she has left is Jon, Tyrion, who is her second in command. Jon's her lover, Tyrion's her second in command, and then the leader of her armies, Grey Worm. Those are the only people she has left. She's lost everything and everybody else, so she goes crazy. She just wants revenge, fire and blood. The words of House Targaryen. That's all she wants. He shares a lot in common with Varys in that regard. What's best for the realm? Yeah, I can kind of see that. I still think Varys had a lot. He wanted to manipulate what was best for the realm out of his own self-interest, not necessarily out of the interest of the people, but I could kind of see that. Um, but yeah, so Jon starts to see that, hey, Dany's actually going crazy, and she's not going to stop. And so Jon has to make the ultimate decision again. He has to choose love over duty, and it tears him to his core because he knows what he has to do. Because even though he is our Targaryen, he's also a Stark, and he knows because Sansa in the North, Jon's sister Sansa, who's leading the North in Jon's absence, wants independence for the North. Daenerys wants to rule over the entire Seven Kingdoms, but so you can see the conflict that Daenerys, Jon's lover, has with Sansa, Jon's sister. Sansa wants independence. Daenerys wants to rule the whole kingdom as a whole. She doesn't want anybody to have independence. So you can see the conflict that those two have. And Jon realizes that with how crazy and how far Daenerys has fallen, she's not going to let anything or anyone stand in her way. So Jon has to make the ultimate sacrifice, and again, he has to sacrifice love for duty. But in all reality, I still think he's choosing love over duty because even though he pledged himself to Daenerys, it's his duty to serve his queen. It's Jon's love for his real family, even though he's a Targaryen by name and blood. His real family is the Starks because that's who raised him, that's who is with him, and that's who loves him. That's who he knows as his family, or the Starks. Jon chooses his love of the Starks over his love and duty to Daenerys and ends up killing Daenerys because he realizes that she's too far gone and she will stop at nothing, and he fears for his family's safety. And so he ends up killing his lover. Every time a new Targaryen is born, he said, the gods toss the coin in the air and the world holds its breath to see how it will end. Yep, that's true. Good quote. But yeah, so Jon ends up choosing to save his family over his lover, and it splits him to his core. And because of this, Jon is banished and exiled to the Night's Watch again. What do you know, right? But so the series ends with Jon back on the wall, serving in the Night's Watch again. I think it's kind of insinuated that he becomes the Lord Commander again, but the show literally ends with him riding through the wall into the true North, leading the wildlings back into their home. So I think he doesn't necessarily abandon the Night's Watch, but he kind of takes up the mantle of King Beyond the Wall, because that's where, really, if we get into the character of Jon Snow and what he really wanted, his first love was Ygritte, and that was his deepest love that he ever had. And for the first time, while his love for Ygritte was real and their relationship was real, even though he was acting as like an undercover agent for the Night's Watch, he loved Ygritte. Because this was finally an opportunity for him to, have no obligations to anybody except for somebody that he loves. And so he felt most natural, most in his element when he was with Ygritte, when he was in the true North, when he was free. That's what he learned when he was a wildling. So I felt like at the end of the show, he still has a duty to the Night's Watch, but he's taking things a lot more relaxed now because he's learned his lesson. He's killed the boy and he's let the man be born. And he's not letting other people's agendas dictate his life. He's just going to live his life how he sees fits. And so ends the story of Jon Snow. So ends the story of Game of Thrones. So that's basically a brief summary of Jon Snow and his character arc. I really love the character of Jon Snow. He is personally my favorite character for a lot of reasons because, obviously he's a noble, honorable person to look up to, kind of like a good role model, so to speak. But the whole fact of him not knowing who his true family is, who his true lineage is, not knowing who his true parents are, kind of being adopted into the Starks really hits home with me because I'm adopted. And I was adopted at birth, and I am extremely blessed and incredibly thankful to be adopted into the family that I have been into, the Fouch family. I love them. They are my family. My mom and dad are my mom and dad, Tom and Teresa. I love you guys. My sister is my sister. My grandparents, aunts and uncles, cousins, they're all my family. They're my real family. Even though not by blood, by name, they're still my real family. But I understand that aspect and those thoughts and emotions of wondering who I am and where do I come from, because I don't know, you know? So Jon Snow has to deal with a lot of stuff in the show and in the books that's really similar to things that I deal with myself, of wondering, not only necessarily, everybody wonders what their place is in life, what their destiny is, what their journey is, but from the sense of not knowing who you're, where you come from in terms of, familial things. That's why Jon is really special to me, is because, I don't know who my birth parents are. Only recently have I just found my biological half sister. And so that was pretty cool to connect to her. But I understand that. I understand the things that Jon goes through and the emotions and thoughts and things that he feels, because I've gone through the exact same thing. So it's really therapeutic for me to see this fictional character hit so close to home, because they're experiencing what I'm experiencing. And to see Jon handle those situations with the courage and the bravery and the heroism that he holds himself, and the character he holds himself to, inspires me to do the same thing in my own life, and not let the circumstances around me dictate my future. So that's why Jon Snow really connects with me. And it was really awesome because I actually got the chance to meet Kit Harington at Ace Comic Con Midwest back in 2019, before the pandy hit. And it was one of the best weekends of my life. And I got a picture with Kit. It's hanging on my bedroom wall back at home. And I got a really cool piece of Jon Snow art signed by Kit. It's one of my prized possessions. But I got to meet him for a brief moment of time when he was signing my autograph. Because when you're taking a picture with a celebrity at a con, it's really quick. It's literally like, okay, you're up next. Come here. If you have a pose, tell the pose real quick. All right, pose, snap the picture, next, and you move along. Move along. That's essentially what it is. But with the autograph, you have a little bit more time because, they're signing stuff. It's about like a quick, 30-second minute conversation. So I take this time to tell Kit, I said, hey, man, thanks for everything you've done, not only for the Game of Thrones, but for the character of Jon Snow. It was really inspiring because I myself was adopted at birth, and I don't know who any of my biological family is. So that's been a real struggle for me to deal with emotionally and psychologically. But to see Jon go through the same thing in the show, and the way you portrayed that was really inspiring to me, and it means a lot to me. And it was so awesome, and I'm not exaggerating this. He literally stopped signing the autograph. He put the cap on the pen, grabbed me by the hand, and it wasn't just like a handshake, right? I could tell, because I've been to a few cons before, and when celebrities are signing autographs, they're there all day signing thousands of autographs, right? They're signing their same signature over and over again. So it's very mundane. It's very, ritualistic in that sense. But in that moment, at least what it seemed like to me, Kit stopped being a celebrity signing autographs, and he was a person connecting with me. And he literally grabbed me by the hand and said, that was the nicest thing and the most sweetest thing anybody has ever said to me. I appreciate that so much, and I'm so happy that I could do that for you. You've inspired me just by telling me that. You're an incredibly awesome person. I hope you have the best future, and I wish nothing but the best for you. Continues to finish signing and looks me again in the eye. He's still holding my hand. Grabs my hand again, shakes my hand. He's like, I meant every word I said. You're an amazing person. Thank you so much for sharing that with me. And then we go our separate ways. And for me, that was really, it was really awesome for me to see the person that brought to life one of my biggest heroes say that to me. So, okay. Wasn't planning on this, but here we are. Fouch Facts Live, woohoo! But yeah, so that meant the world to me, for me to hear that. It was one of the best moments of my life. And so that's why Jon's a special character to me. That's why I'm such a huge supporter of Kit Harington, because he means the world to me and the things that he did with Jon Snow in Game of Thrones. But he's genuinely, just like Jon, he's a good person. So I'm super, super excited to... love you too, Lopez. Super excited to see him in the Eternals come back, working alongside Richard Madden, his Game of Thrones co-star. It's just awesome. Really awesome. Super pumped to see that. Real quick before we end here, because I'm looking at the timestamp, and I've been streaming for almost 2 hours now, an hour and 45 minutes. Good Lord. Where's the time gone? I want to talk about The Bad Batch really quick. The Bad Batch is a new Star Wars animation that's been premiering on Disney Plus every Friday. We just got episode 5 this past week today, and episode 6 will debut next week, but it's a really awesome animated show that follows the same art style and animation direction as the Clone Wars. It's I don't know if it's directed by, but I'm pretty sure it's produced by Dave Filoni, directed and produced and wrote for the Clone Wars animated series that started in 2008. Dave Filoni may also be familiar to you because he works heavily in hand with Jon Favreau on The Mandalorian season 1 and 2, and is still working with Jon, developing that kind of, era of Star Wars, the Disney Plus era. He's working with Jon Favreau, developing all those spin-off shows with him. So this is his new creation, The Bad Batch. Against an animated show, and what happens is it follows the story of these genetically mutated clone troopers. Essentially, think of Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles meets Suicide Squad meets clone troopers. That's who we're dealing with, right? And so they all have their own special abilities, and not necessarily powers, but just special abilities and specific roles that they play. And it's really awesome because this starts in the timeline of Star Wars events. This starts with Order 66, when the Jedi are killed by the clone troopers. And it's really cool because of their genetic modifications and mutations, the Bad Batch doesn't follow Order 66. They don't take it. And so we get to see this journey of these clone troopers who did not execute Order 66, who did not betray the Jedi. And we see them finding their own place in this galaxy, in this time period that we've never really explored in Star Wars before, right after Revenge of the Sith, the transition from Republic to Empire. So it's just really awesome to see. Check it out on Disney Plus if you haven't already. It's really awesome. But I just wanted to throw that quick in there. I'm gonna make some videos. I wanted to do like reviews of the episodes individually and stuff, but maybe I'll go and do a breakdown later on in some future videos if I get to it. But like I said, I've been streaming for a long time here. We had some awesome discussions tonight. We talked some Marvel stuff, some Eternals, Spider-Man, Doctor Strange 2. We talked a lot of Game of Thrones stuff, gave a lot of love to my boy Jon Snow and to Kit Harington. So that's going to do it for this episode of Fouch Facts. I can't thank you enough for everybody that was a part of this, who came out to watch. Shout out to Lopez. Shout out to Parsifal Skywalker. Anybody else who watches this or has watched or participated tonight, thanks for coming in. I can't wait to see you in the next one. And remember, what I told you was true from a certain point of view. We'll see you next time, guys. Don't forget to check out my social media pages on Facebook and Twitter, Fouch Facts. Obviously, subscribe to the YouTube channel if you enjoyed today's video. Watch my other videos, comment, give me thumbs up, all that stuff. Love you guys. You're the best. It's been awesome. Can't wait till next time, guys. We'll see you then. See ya.